Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Oh, it's good to be here. We are having a lot of fun. I'm here with my wife, Danielle, my two girls, Jasmine and Sophia. They're 12 and 9. They're sitting in the back over there, aren't you? Stand up so they can say hi to you. There they are, right there. And we have been having so much fun with you guys. You guys have a lot of fun here, don't you? It's been great, and we've just are so grateful. We've just feel so welcome. So thank you. And this is my second time in the Nordics. I was in Copenhagen, I think 2 summits ago. And after I came to that, I came home and told Danielle and the girls, I just said, God is really doing something special in the vineyard here, because he is. I mean, you are a part of something that God is doing that it's difficult to calculate what it could become. I mean, when God is up to something, it has exponential potential, doesn't it? It can just take over and all of a sudden flood all over the place. And so I just have a sense that everything that God is doing here, he wants to multiply out. And so it's just an honor to be with you. It truly is, to be a part of what God is doing among you. Tonight, I want to share with you something that's really near and dear to my heart. I give it low odds I will make it through this talk without some level of emotion, because it's so close to me. And that is to speak to you about God's heart for those who are furthest from him. People that don't have any kind of life with Jesus, and how God yearns for them and seeks after them. And it's likely that I have a heart for this because I was not raised in church. I had no church background. How many of you here weren't raised in any kind of church background? You just didn't go to church growing up. Okay, so there's a few of you. The rest of you are suspect. Okay, I know who to watch out for. But you know, it's this thing we do here is exceptionally strange if you've never been to church. Do you know that? I had a friend that invited me to a youth group, but he didn't say it was a youth group. What he said was, there's a party with hot chicks. And did that translate? I wonder how that translated. But this happened when I was 15, and when you're 15, that's all you need. That's the invitation that gets your attention. And sure enough, he didn't lie. There were many attractive young ladies in attendance. But then they did this weird thing where there were chairs, and they all started filing into the chairs and singing songs. And all of a sudden, it was like a big karaoke party. You know what I mean? Have you ever been in one of those? You just were. If you didn't, it's just the word. Anyway. That's how it looks if you've never been to something like that. I mean, is there anywhere else you're like, hey, let's get all our friends together and we're going to sing songs? That's not something people do. And so it was like this really strange experience. But that night was the first night I'd ever heard anything about Jesus. And I got a Bible that night. I started to read the Bible. And to make a very long story short, God grabbed a hold of my heart one night. Just flipped me upside down. And everything changed from that moment forward. I was never the same. And so my heart beats for those who are far away. People that have never really understood the love of Jesus. Maybe people that have even been in church, but have sort of lost track, or maybe even never really understood what it was to have life with God, true intimate life with God. And that's what my life's about. That's what the life of our church is about. And I really hope and pray that that's what your life's about. Because, well, Jesus talks about it a lot. And he finds himself in conversations about this continually. For people that have never read the Bible, if I ask them, hey, who do you think Jesus was in conflict with the most in his life on earth, his ministry on earth. Do you know that most people assume that he was in conflict with like sinners, like the troublemakers, like that God sent Jesus into the world to set people straight. Now, I hope you would know better, because when you read the scriptures, guess who you find him in constant conflict with? The most religious, the most stringent, the most strict people who took their life with God so seriously, dedicated their lives to following him. We read them as the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And page after page after page of the Gospels, we find Jesus in direct, aggressive conflict with them. And nearly always, they're in direct conflict because Jesus hangs out with the wrong people. The wrong people find their way to Jesus. And they are agitated because they're going, we're like the good guys, and you're ignoring us, and you're running around with all these horrible people that you shouldn't be trusting. Do you not understand how messed up all these people are you're hanging out with? Prostitutes, tax collectors. I mean, like, what's wrong with you? Don't you get it? And page after page, he's confronted and argued with. They're not arguing about what he believes about God. They're arguing with him because of what he's doing and who he's doing it with. But this all comes to a head. And in Luke chapter 15, Jesus kind of has enough with it. And he tells 3 stories in a row to describe why he does what he does and what he's up to in reaching out to people that normally wouldn't be a part of church or have any interest in God. Let me show you my cards. Let me tell you exactly what I think we're up to tonight. As I prayed this afternoon, I had the clearest sense that there might just even be a few of us here tonight that don't have life with Jesus. Maybe just a few. And that tonight could be a night, well, that you could enter into a brand new life with Jesus. There might even be some of you that have been walking away from God, you've been walking away from Jesus, and tonight is a night that you can restore and start over. And more than that, there's some of you that maybe, well, you need to hear again God's heart for those who are far away, who have no hope in the world. And that God calls us to be people who are messengers that speak up about the life that is found in Jesus. And I have faith that tonight God will place his really, really big heart in many of our small little bodies. And when he does that, I warn you, it gets messy. So if you have a Bible, you can open to Luke chapter 15. I'll start in verses 1 and 2. I'm just going to start right at the beginning. This is what Luke records that sets up these 3 stories. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus, but the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." So they're mad that he's hanging out with the wrong people and not paying enough attention to them. Imagine that. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine church people being upset that their needs aren't being met? Can you imagine church people just saying, "Pastor, why don't you feed me enough? Why do we care about what's happening with the poor, with the city? Don't you understand what I need and what my family needs?" Probably can't imagine that. Anyway, so only the pastors like that joke. Okay, so Jesus tells 3 stories in a row to describe what he's up to. And remember, he's confronting the Pharisees. First story is commonly called the parable of the lost sheep. This is what he says, starting in verse 3. Jesus told them this parable Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and his neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me. I found my lost sheep." I tell you that in the same way, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. The first audience he speaks to is farmers, these men who have sheep. Now, I don't know if you've been around sheep lately. Been around sheep lately? Well, here's the thing about sheep. They're really stupid. Like, they're really stupid. Like, when Jesus refers to us as sheep, that's not exactly a compliment. I mean, he's pretty much saying you clump together, you're fearful, and you're not very bright. Isn't that encouraging? They were his sheep. And he says, imagine one runs away, don't you leave the 99 and go after the one. And this last line is really powerful. He says, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents. He's saying the 99 that he already has are not that as exciting. It's the one that he has to chase down. Now, have you ever seen that great picture of Jesus with the lamb on his shoulders? You know that one? Where he's like white. And he has like blonde coiffed hair. And he's holding the lamb. It's beaming. You seen that picture? There's nothing accurate about that picture, like literally nothing. When a farmer would chase down a lost sheep, do you know what they would do? First of all, the first thing they would do is they would carry a staff with a hook in it and rocks and a sling, first to defend the sheep, but then also they would throw rocks at the sheep that was running away, hit them in the head, so they'd freak out and run back. If that didn't work, they would grab them by the neck with the cane and drag them. Then grab one of the legs and snap it. And then carry the sheep close to them so that they would become familiar again with the voice and the smell and the feel of the master. To grow close again. So next time you see Aryan Jesus with the sheep, just imagine that he snapped its leg in half, put it on his neck. It does change the context a little bit, doesn't it? It shows that God loves us enough to chase after us. And here's a strange thing that we're going to see in each of these stories, that strangely it's often crisis or pain that reminds us that we need to be near the one that loves us. That it's crisis or pain that reminds us that we need to be near the one that loves us. Tells a second story. This time he changes his audience. He's a master storyteller. Jesus is so good at this. And he tells the next story aiming at an entirely different group of people. He aims at single ladies. Any single ladies here tonight? All the single ladies? Right? No? Put your hands up, right? You know what? Did that not make it? Did I make it over the ocean? That one didn't make it? You know that one? Okay. So this is aimed at single ladies. So single ladies, listen up, because this is going to get your attention. I guarantee it. It's a very compelling story he tells. This is what he says. Suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends or neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin." In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of angels of God over one sinner who repents. Now, there's some context here, again, that makes it difficult to understand unless you're in the culture. Here's what's happening. Single ladies would wear 10 coins as a necklace. And this was a symbol that they were single and available, and that they came from a family of means and wealth. In other words, they would wear these 10 silver coins and walk out into public as a way of saying, you can have this. Not the coins, I meant the coins. You can have the coins. It's all one package, okay? So you get it, right? And it's 10, it has to be 10. It's 10 coins, and 10 symbolizes, again, a number of completion. It demonstrates that they are available and they are single. Now, single ladies. I mean, can you imagine that you lose one coin? I mean, are you gonna put 9 coins on? You're gonna put 9 on, walk out of the house when Mr. Right could be standing right there. And this is the day you have 9 coins. He's right there. I mean, hey, there's some single ladies here tonight. I imagine you come to a camp like this like, hey, I gotta look right. Nobody's gonna admit it. Okay, whatever. You know, I told him at the cafe, I said, man, the cafe, you should have speed dating. This is a place to meet people, shoot. But, okay, I'm being very American. I'll back up. Okay, so imagine, yeah, no, don't clap for that part. You're like, you are being very American, very American. Tone down the Americanness a little bit. Okay, so imagine you have 9 coins. I mean, you are not going out in public with 9 coins. You call your friends, get over here and find this coin. We gotta find this coin. I am not leaving this house till we find it. And they tear the place apart. I can remember Danielle and I were engaged. We'd been dating for a long time. We both had no money. I mean, no money. And I worked and I worked and I worked and I worked and I bought an engagement ring. Whew. It was a lot of work. It was like all the money I had. I bought this ring, diamond. It was a small diamond, but it was the best diamond I could afford. It was at least a diamond, okay? And I get this ring with a very small diamond, and I ask her to marry me, and she says yes, miracle of all miracles. Well, we're about 2 weeks from the wedding day, and I get a call. Hey, Jay, I have something to tell you. I could tell from her voice, this is not good. I said, okay, what is it? I can't find the ring. Okay, you know, it's gonna be okay. Okay, so it's okay. Have you looked? Yeah, I've been looking. Okay, hey, you know what? It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. I'll be right over. I'm doing the math. I'm just going 2 weeks. I can't buy another ring. I can't afford another ring. There's just no way it can be done. I worked and I worked just to buy this one. There's no way I can afford one. We comb the house. We are taking apart the plumbing. I'm not even kidding. I mean, all the drawers are on the, you know, I am crawling along on my hands and knees on the edge, just thinking, maybe she kicked it in the wall and jammed it under the carpet or something. And I'm like feeling with my fingers, maybe it's under the carpet somewhere. It was desperate. This is what Jesus is describing. That when one is lost, everything stops until it's found. This is the urgency. Here's the thing. When you talk about lostness, we usually think about it in compared to being found, as though we are found and you are lost, you are a loser. That is not what Jesus is saying. That's not what Jesus is saying. In the States, people will have a bumper sticker that says, all who wander are not lost. It's kind of like they're offended that followers of Jesus might think other people are lost. He's not saying lost versus found. Here's what he's saying. He's saying that lostness equals value. Value. That when someone is lost, they are so valuable to God that everything stops. He says it in both stories, that there's more rejoicing over one than 99. Can you imagine how offensive that is? You got 99 people sitting there going, hey, we're here. Oh, no, let's have a party for this one. But I'm here. I'm right here. I'm right here, too. There's 99 of us. No. No. This is so valuable. Listen to me right now tonight. This is really important you catch this. If you are here tonight and you don't know about your own life with God, if you don't know that you are connected to Jesus, listen to me very closely. The eyes of God are upon you with such great affection in a way that you cannot fathom. God is looking past many of us in this room and staring at you and calling to you saying, just come home. You are so valuable. Lostness describes value. It's true in the United States that when we graduate from high school, we get a diploma. Do you get diplomas? Like a piece of paper and we have a whole ceremony. And do you do the same thing? Okay, so we do the same thing. How many of you here know where your high school diploma is right now? Like you know exactly where it is. How many of you know? Look at these neat freaks. Don't look at them. Those people are way too organized. The rest of us are like, I don't know where it is. I mean, I have it. I know I have it. It's somewhere in my garage in a box in the attic somewhere. I mean, I know it's around. I didn't lose it. I just don't care about it. He's not saying it's misplaced. He's saying everything stops until this one comes home. There's an urgency about it. And he tells a third story. This is the story we're most familiar with. We usually don't realize it's in this context. And this is one of the most beautiful stories I think maybe ever written about in literature, let alone in the scriptures. Verse 11, Jesus continued, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Stop. How many of you have read this story before? Maybe you've heard this story. So let's try and read it as though we've never read it before. Let's go through it really slowly for just a second, okay? Right there, something happened that's insane. It says, the younger son comes to the father and says, I would like my share of the estate now. Now, if you tell this story anywhere in the Middle East, anywhere in South America, anywhere in Southeast Asia, people gasp at this first line. And the reason why is, this is so dishonorable to a father for the younger son, the one who is not in the line of succession, to say, I'd like my money now. He's effectively saying this, I know I'm going to get my money when you're dead. I wish you were dead now. But you're not. But I wish you were. So let's just act like you're dead and give me some money. I have 2 little girls. They are the light of my life. And if they grew up someday to look at me and say, hey, Dad, wish you were dead. Can I have my inheritance? I think I would say something like, you're going to wish you were dead in a minute. Here's what I know for sure. There's no way I would give him the money. There's no way I'd be like, oh, sure, honey. Did you notice? It says, simple line, so he divided his property between them. In this parable, the Father is God. And what we learn just here in this beginning is God trusts you with your own life. He says, if you want to do something, you can do it. I'll let you do it. Though I have put breath in your body, though I have given you life, though I love you and I know you're gonna do something stupid because he's about to do something really stupid. This isn't like a smart move. You don't look at this younger son and think, wow, he's so bright. I bet he's gonna invest this well. It's clear this is gonna go bad. But that's how God looks at you and me. We look at him and say, I want to do what I want with my own body. I want to do what I want with my own money. I don't care what you have to say. I don't want your rules anymore. I want to do the way I want to do it. And you know what he says? He goes, fine. Knowing full well that it's going to go bad. This is another kind of grace, how open-handed God is. Well, you probably know the story. It says this, the NIV renders it this way, and I love it. It says, not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. I don't know how we have it. Does it say wild living? Foolish living. I like wild living better. There's a wild living. I don't know what you imagine, but we learn from the end of the passage, it involves some pretty rough stuff. I imagine it sort of like a hip-hop video. So then, how do you know what those are? Aren't you? Just a friend told me once about what those are like. So he squanders all his wealth. Then it says, after he'd spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. Stop. This is really important. This is the thing that prodigal sons and daughters don't realize. When you grow up in a home where you think your parents are just controlling you, is there anyone among us that didn't know that we knew our parents were stupid at one point, right? That you knew better, that they weren't smart, they were trying to control you, and you needed your own freedom, right? This middle section's like, oh yeah. Well, it's true for all, there's a season in life that everyone's trying to wonder what's going on, and you think, why are you trying to control me? And you lose track of the heart of the Father. And you think that the rules are there to hurt you when they're really there to rescue you and save you and protect you. And this young man has lost track of that. And he thinks he's in control. So he's gonna go out and spend all this money and have fun, thinking it'll end really well. But here's what he doesn't count on. A famine. Something happens outside of his control that blows his life apart. Listen to me, it's really important you hear me. There might be prodigals among us now who have walked far from God. The famine always comes. It's not just in your control. When you walk away from God, you walk outside of the protection of what God has for your life, the famine always comes. Something happens that makes you have to rethink what it is you're up to and what you're doing with your life. Suddenly you're pregnant and you didn't expect it. Suddenly you lose the job. Suddenly you're sick. Suddenly something happens that's beyond your control and you begin to realize, now wait a minute. Maybe all those rules, maybe that protection was there to help me. But that's not what happens, right? That's not what happens. It says after that, so he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. Good Jewish boy feeding pigs. This is bad. You would think this would be the moment he would go, this is bad, I gotta go home. Nope. Verse 16, he longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, stop. It isn't the famine. It isn't that he has to work with pigs. What is it that breaks him? Pig food. That's the moment he's like, oh man, I want to eat that pig food so bad. Ooh, it looks so good. Pig food. He goes, what am I doing? Pig food? Now, here's the question. Why didn't he come to his senses when he lost all his money? Why didn't he come to his senses when there was the famine? Why didn't he come to his senses when he started working with pigs? I have no idea. Do you? There's something about the pig food that he went, that's it. This is nuts. And that line, if you underline your Bible, the line is, when he came to his senses. That's the line. Listen to me. I don't know what it takes for someone to come to their senses. Let me put it this way. It's literally a miracle. When you come to your senses and you realize, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing in this relationship? What am I doing with my money? What am I doing with what I'm putting in my body? What am I doing? What is this? And you have this sense of conviction. You better act, and you better act fast. Because if you don't, you get lulled right back to sleep. Haven't we all experienced that? Have you ever had a moment in your life where you learn something new and you act on it, it changes your life, and you think to yourself, how could I have gone so long being so stupid? Haven't you ever wondered that? Because there was a miracle of grace that you woke up and went, this is not okay, I need to change my life. Listen to me really closely. When you come to your senses, you better act, or you fall asleep again. You just go back to your life. You go back to that other way of living, and you get numb again, and then it takes something more severe to wake you up. Well, he comes to his senses, which is mercy. It says, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? Here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and he went to his father. Okay, stop. Have you ever been in trouble and prepared a speech ahead of time to get yourself out of trouble? Come on, don't be a liar. Any married men here? Okay, you know, you know what I mean? You're late for dinner, and you can see it in your mind, like the food is on the table growing cold. And you're like, oh honey, there's traffic, the traffic. No, that's too dramatic. Honey, the traffic. No, that's kind of too weak. You wouldn't believe the traffic. That's it. Practice that. You wouldn't believe. Have you ever done this? And you practice? Those of you, obviously, who are still getting in school, you practice this thing to the teacher. I was so sick. No, that's probably a little too much. I don't want to overdo it, right? And you practice. You may be in the mirror on the way there. Have you ever done this? That's what he's doing. This is a speech he's practicing to try to work his way back into his father's graces. How do I know he's practicing it? Because he gives the speech again in just a second. So it's the exact speech that he's about to give, he's practicing. So just imagine this. Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy. I'm no longer worthy. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. And he's practicing, and he's walking home. Your son, make me like one of your hired men. Will you hire me? What do I? And as he's practicing, walking home, he looks up, and in the distance, he sees his father. Wow, I've never seen him run. And he's running, I think he's running at me. He's running right directly at me. Okay, remember the speech, Father, I've sinned against him. But he's running very fast. He's 20 feet, he's 10 feet. He's 5 feet away. What would you do if your father was sprinting at you after you had wasted all your money, told him you wish he was dead? What do you think's about to happen as he's sprinting at you? So he gets within 5 feet. It's okay if I put my head down, it'll hit me in the top of the head. I've heard, right? You're expecting a slap. a hit. But you know the story. It says, he wrapped his arms around him. He kissed him. You would think this would be the moment that the son would say, oh, I'm home. I'm home. All is well. But no, he starts his stupid speech. It's right there in the text, right there. The son said to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. There's one difference between the speech that he practiced and the one that he gives. You know what the one difference is? The father interrupts him and will not let him finish. He's in the middle of his stupid speech while being kissed and hugged. Father, I don't even know what you're talking about. He ignores him. And it says, he shouts out, quick, bring the best robe and put it on him, put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate, for this son of mine was dead. He's alive again. He was lost, but now he's found. And it says, and immediately they began to celebrate. How many of us are practicing our stupid speeches when he's embracing you, saying, come to me, come home. I don't need your stupid speech. I don't need you to grovel and whine. Come home, I love you. What are you doing? What are you doing? That we're in the midst of his arms and he's kissing us and we're still going, well, I don't know. I'm doing the best I can. I probably should pray more. I don't know, Just stop. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? I just want you to imagine like you're playing cards with God. It's a stretch, but just do it, okay? You're playing cards with God. Okay, you're playing cards with God. You ever play cards, You're playing cards with God, and you're playing, and God just starts kind of looking around, and God, I can see your cards. Your cards are, my cards. Yeah, I can see your cards. You have to hold them. Oh, okay, yeah, sure, right. I can see your cards. So when I can see your cards, we can't really. Oh, I know. It ruins the game. I'm really sorry. Let me put the cards back up. Okay. So the way this works is if I see your cards, I know you have. It ruins the game. And God says, you know what? I don't want to play a game. I just want to show you what's in my hand. It's every card. It's all I have. All I have for you is grace. All I have for you is acceptance. All I have for you is love. That's all I've got. That's the only card I have. I don't have another card. That's it. Because if you didn't know that, if you wondered even for a second if you would get a slap, you wouldn't come. But you don't have to be afraid. All that he has is grace. All that he has is love. All that he has is acceptance. If you will just come. And then there's a party. And everybody has to party. Like it's like mandatory. Like we are celebrating because he was dead and now he's alive. You must come, and everybody comes. But most of the time we end the story here. And it's not the end of the story. The next thing that happens is it says, while there's a party, the father looks around and realizes there's someone missing. The older son is not here. He's not in the celebration. Where is the older son? Where is he at? And he hears from a servant that the older son is still working in the field. The father is dishonored and disgraced and must leave his own party And he goes out to the older son who's working in the field. Well, I'm just out here working because that's what I do. I'm responsible. And this guy's making hip hop videos with tax collectors. Let's just keep working because I work and I do the right thing. And the father says, son, what are you doing? Did you not hear there's a party? He said, no, I heard. Oh, yeah, I heard. I heard the party. I asked one of the servants, said that your son came home. Not my brother, your son came home. Dad, it's not fair. I have been here working the whole time. While he was out there wasting his money, wasting our money, I've been working. And he comes home and you throw him a party. I've been here. You've not given me anything for a party. With my friends, you didn't give me a calf. You didn't even give me a goat. Yet you throw him a party? This isn't fair. It's not okay. I'm not going in. I refuse. And the father says, but you've always been here with me. And your brother, he was dead, but he's alive. Come join the party. And the story ends with the older brother outside of the party, the younger brother in the party. The story ends with his goodness keeping him from the celebration of God. His morality keeps him from joining God. His perfection keeps him from joining God. The story ends by Jesus effectively saying to the Pharisees, you are the older brother. Do you not see what I am doing? Do you not see the celebration? Do you not see how I am moving by my Spirit and drawing people from the edges of culture? And you will not enter in. Instead, you say, well, this is all very inappropriate. When there is a party and you are outside of my grace because you will not come in. Let me indulge you. Indulge me with one last illustration. This is how we'll finish. Imagine this. Here we are camping, right? I want you to imagine I come running into your campsite over here. A bunch of you are all hanging out, and it's dark. And I come running in, and I say, listen, I need everyone's attention. Everyone's attention. Listen to me. My 9-year-old daughter, Sophia, she's gone missing. I saw her just an hour ago. It was just an hour ago. She has a little pink jacket. She went up one of these trails. I think it was this trail over here. It's getting dark, and it's going to be cold soon, and I don't know where to find her. If we all break up and we go search, I bet we can find her, but we have to hurry. I don't want it to be dark, and she doesn't speak Swedish. She's not sure. I don't know what she'll do. I need your help. And everyone kind of rallies, like, okay, and I grab a few of you, and I go running off one of the trails. And everyone's kind of frantic, like, oh my goodness, this is scary. Jay lost his daughter. And then someone pipes up and says, I don't think it's wise for us to just all go start running around in the dark. I actually once taught a class on lostness and how it feels to be lost. I think we need to be educated more thoroughly about the psychology of a lost person before we engage in this search. So people go, oh, that sounds good, that sounds good. And a little group walks over and starts class. And another person says, I wrote a song about lostness, and I think it really would get us in the mood. It would help inspire us to think about, how does it feel to be lost? Music helps us emotionally to connect with lostness. I got a couple songs. People go, that's good. Yeah, get the guitar out. That's great. Someone else says, what I realize is I don't know that we're connected enough, if we just end up out there and we're not emotionally connected enough to each other, will we really even be able to work together if we don't really know one another? And I have problems too. It's not just that 9-year-old girl. Who's going to hear my problems? What about my problems? Before you know it, there's a class and there's a song and there's people roasting marshmallows around a fire. Now listen to me. If I find my daughter and I happen to be wandering back towards the camp and I find people roasting marshmallows, and teaching classes and singing songs. You will be lucky if I just keep walking. Do you want to be in step with the Holy Spirit? Do you want to walk in the presence and the power of the Holy Spirit? Search after and reach for the lost. For you can be guaranteed that the God of heaven and earth is scouring your city, saying, will anybody join me in the search party? Will anyone join me to search after that which is lost? For there will be a party. And this is what I am doing. And will you join me? Or will you stand outside wondering why your needs are not being met sufficiently? Or will you join me in this great search? Will you join him for your schools, for your city, for your neighborhood? For the Spirit of God is moving all around us, wooing people, calling. There are people around you and I tonight that are saying, God, are you real? If you're real, show me. And they just need one person to say, hey, I wonder if you know anything about Jesus. Or, hey, why don't you come to this weird thing I go to where we sing songs? And I mean, like, you have no idea what one invitation can transform someone's life forever. If we could just have the courage to join God in his search party. Amen? Amen. Why don't we stand together?